So most people are familiar with the character of Hannibal Lecter. He's this cannibal serial killer who's locked up in a mental hospital, and these FBI agents will go to him and ask him for advice on how to catch some killer that they happen to be tracking. Most people know that character through the movies with Anthony Hopkins. Well, before the Anthony Hopkins movies, there was a film called Manhunter that was released in 1986, where in that movie, Hannibal is portrayed by an actor named Brian Cox. And Brian Cox has a much more subdued performance. He doesn't really act over the top like Dracula or something. He acts more like probably a real serial killer would, the way Ted Bundy would, or someone who's able to blend in and evade capture because they're sort of charming, or at the very least they don't act like a crazy person. So in the movie you've got William Peterson playing this character named Will Graham. Will Graham is a FBI profiler who has the signature trait of being able to identify with serial killers. He can track them because he can think the way they do. So the film starts off with the FBI asking Will to come out of retirement because there's a series of grisly murders where whole families are being wiped out by a serial killer. So this killer thinks that if he kills enough people, he's going to become this ancient demon god. So there's a race against the clock where Will is trying to catch this guy, and he's having to use his ex-mentor, and a former colleague of his was this guy named Hannibal Lecter, who was a forensic psychiatrist, and Hannibal would help Will catch people. And then at some point, it turned out that Hannibal was actually a serial killer. Will is able to get Hannibal arrested, and he's sent off to reside in this psychiatric hospital. So this movie was directed by a guy named Michael Mann. And Michael Mann was the producer of the TV series Miami Vice. Miami Vice is this show from the 80s that is largely responsible for a lot of the neon and synth pop music that we associate with the 80s. Whenever people do retro 80s stuff, they're quoting Miami Vice a lot of the time. So the game GTA Vice City, the movie Drive, the TV series Moonbeam City, that 80s aesthetic, a lot of that comes from Miami Vice. So that guy who did all that stuff made this Hannibal Lecter movie. So he was adapting the first book in the Hannibal Lecter book series, because it's a series of novels by an author named Thomas Harris. And the first adaptation, Manhunter, actually bombed at the box office. So the second movie they made did not have any of that Miami Vice shit. That's what Silence of the Lambs is, and that's the movie that the public really liked and got a lot of Oscars for the performers. Manhunter was remade as Red Dragon in 2002, with Ed Norton playing the main character of Will Graham, Anthony Hopkins playing Hannibal Lecter. Manhunter has a special place in cinema history, so I would recommend it to people that like the Hannibal Lecter series, but also if you enjoy television shows like CSI or movies like Seven, I think you'd also enjoy Manhunter. But just keep in mind, it is very dated in an 80s aesthetic sense, and it's not so much a horror movie, it's much more of a suspenseful detective thriller. So if you can accept that, I think you'll enjoy it.